A very good morning to you. And what are you seeing at the moment? We have about 20 minutes now till polls open. And you're obviously chatting to people this morning. You've been chatting to people for a couple of days in Zimbabwe. Just what is the mood ahead of the polls opening?
Well, I guess today is actually evident to a promise that the Electoral Commission has made earlier this week, or rather last week on Monday, where it said that the 30th of July is cast in stone, the elections will go ahead. And what we see here is exactly remnants of that the elections will be going ahead. And you can see people have queued up as the sun is starting to peek out. Look at how long this queue has been. Some people actually arrived around about 2 o'clock this morning to come and make sure that they cast their ballot. This lady over here has been here since 4 o'clock in the morning, sitting on the ground over here with some of her friends. Good morning, ma'am.
How are you?
Great, great. Why did you wake up so early to be part of these elections?
I come here because I want to vote today.
Why is it so important for you?
It's important because it's our life. All Zimbabweans, it's our life. We want to vote for new change, for new Zimbabwe. So we come here to vote because my vote is my life.
I guess you encouraged everyone at the house as well to make sure that they go cast their ballots as well?
Yeah, I encourage others to come and vote today because we want to change.
Well, thank you so much. We have 5.5 million people who have registered for these votes for today's vote that will be taking place. But here's something else. Is that late last night we got news that the Electoral Commission had opened a case against Nelson Chamisa, the president or the presidential candidate of the MDC Alliance. And you'd remember that he had a press briefing yesterday, and that's the reason why they opened the case, and saying that he had violated the rules and regulations of the Electoral Commission and the Electoral Act of this country. And late last night, the MDC responding in a statement saying that the fact that the ZEC has reported a non-offense at this crucial time is meant to intimidate the president and his team in an unacceptable demonstration of partiality and will not be lightly viewed. It continues to say that the president remains unfazed and urges all Zimbabweans from all walks of life to remain vigilant and go with the task of voting. And here is one person in particular, Maxwell, who's saying that what the Electoral Commission is trying to do is that the Electoral Commission is trying to intimidate the MDC Alliance. Maxwell?
Yes. How are you?
I'm good, Maxwell. Just quickly tell us, why do you believe that the Electoral Commission is trying to intimidate Nelson Chamisa or trying to intimidate the alliance?
Yeah, because we want free and fair. Because he's a good leader. So we don't want some rigging. Because look at yourself, we are suffering. More suffering.
Do you think that this act by the Electoral Commission to report Nelson Chamisa already cast aspersion on the credibility of the process?
What?
Do you think that the Electoral Commission now opening this case against Nelson Chamisa may have an impact on how people view these elections, or the partiality or impartiality of the Electoral Commission?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think so? Why do you think that the Electoral Commission may be seen to be being partial, to be seen to be siding with other political parties?
On that one, try to talk so what I understand. So because if you talk like that, I can't understand.
Okay, no, I understand. Okay, but basically what he was saying earlier on is that what he feels is that the Electoral Commission is trying to intimidate the MDC Alliance. We know that the MDC Alliance has been making a lot of aspersions and has literally attacked the Electoral Commission. And at the final rally of ZANU-PF, for instance, we had the president of the country who came out and who said that Nelson Chamisa was part of the subcommittee of Parliament that was set up, the subcommittee that selected the members of the Electoral Commission, and also then saying that these are members of the Electoral Commission that have been selected and appointed where in a process where Nelson Chamisa was part of. Let me just quickly speak to some of the guys here as well who arrived in the early hours of the morning. Considering what's happening at the moment, do you guys remain undeterred to be participating in these elections?
Yes, that's why we are here. We come as early as around 2 to make our right as voters. So we are here. We are just waiting for the guys to open so that we can cast our votes.
Are you also encouraging more people to come out and cast their ballot?
As you can see, the turnout, if we can just put your cameras, that the turnout is very, very high.
Okay then, thank you so much. Well, there you have it from the people from this community, where we expect Nelson Chamisa to be voting a bit later on, run about 8:30, and we'll definitely ask him about this latest development around the police, around the Electoral Commission having opened a case against them. We spoke to the spokesperson of the MDC Alliance, who's indicated that the police have not made any contact whatsoever, but Nelson Chamisa will be here at Kwazana 2 primary school to cast his ballot round about 8:30.
Well, Aldrin, just very quickly before we let you go, I mean, you say that the ZEC has opened this case against him. What is it, if you have any idea, that Nelson Chamisa has apparently done to break the rules? Do we know?
Well, the thing is that the Electoral Act of this country states that 24 hours before the polls, all campaigning must stop. So no one is allowed to campaign. That's the reason why we had all the final rallies taking place on Saturday. The Act even goes further to say that all posters must be taken off. But I guess that's impossible for some political parties to take off all the posters, considering how widespread they are. So during this press briefing that Nelson Chamisa had, he spoke about the confidence that people have in the MDC Alliance, and this may have been seen as a campaigning. But here's something interesting, that the MDC Alliance is also making the case that if you look at the video clip that was circulating late last night, where President Emmerson Mnangagwa was responding to Robert Mugabe's press briefing, and in that clip, he also speaks about a choice that voters in Zimbabwe should make, whether they vote for Robert Mugabe under the disguise of Nelson Chamisa, or whether they vote for him. This is whether they vote for him, Emmerson Mnangagwa. This could also be seen as a form of campaigning. And the question that the MDC Alliance is asking is whether the Electoral Commission will also open a case against the president of the country, the president and the leader of ZANU-PF. We've been trying to get a hold of them to get some sort of response on what they will do now that the MDC has also brought this to light.
All right, thanks very much, Aldrin Sampear there. We'll wait for those details as they become available. Here, keeping an eye on the voting station there, when Nelson Chamisa, the opposition leader, expected to come out and make his mark.